The conference room stretched wide and empty, except for the dozen humans standing in the center. Above them, holographic projections flickered to life, showing alien faces from across the galaxy. Commander Jake Morrison straightened his uniform and tried not to show how nervous he felt. Around him, his team stood ready. Lieutenant Amy Chen kept her face calm, though her fingers drummed once against her thigh. Dr. Ben Harper adjusted his glasses, a habit he had kept even though the glasses were just for comfort now. The projection in the center grew brighter, and Ambassador Velthas appeared. The Vexari looked like living crystal, their body refracting light into rainbow patterns. When they spoke, their voice came through a translation device that made it sound hollow and distant. "Commander Morrison," Velthas began, "we have gathered to discuss your request. You wish to explore Kepler 442f. Jake nodded. "Yes, Ambassador. We believe we can succeed where others have failed." A sound like grinding rocks filled the room. It took Jake a moment to realize it was laughter. The laughter came from Krell Ambassador Thaxmon, a being that stood 3 meters tall with skin like gray stone. "Humans," Thaxmon said. "You have been in space for barely 10 of your years. You know nothing of true danger." Another voice joined in, this one sounding like wind through caves. The Numian representative, a creature of gas and energy held together by a containment suit, spoke next. "We appreciate your enthusiasm, but Kepler 442f is designated Class 15, the highest danger rating we have. 17 expeditions have gone to that world. All died within hours." Velthas waved a crystal in hand and the projection changed. Images appeared in the air around the humans. Jake had seen them before, but they still made his stomach turn. The first expedition, a group of Krell warriors in advanced combat armor, torn apart by creatures that moved too fast for cameras to capture clearly. The fifth expedition, a team of scientific specialists, caught in a volcanic eruption that came without warning. The 12th expedition, simply vanishing into a forest where the trees themselves seemed to move. "The planet has gravity twice your Earth standard," Velthas continued. "The atmosphere contains particles that corrode most known materials. The life forms are aggressive beyond measure. The geological activity is constant and unpredictable. This is not a matter of courage, Commander. It is biology and physics. You will die." Amy stepped forward. "With respect, Ambassador, we've reviewed all the data. We understand the risks, do you?" Thaxmon leaned forward in his projection. "The last team we sent were Krell commandos. Each one could lift a ton with ease. Each one had armor that could withstand plasma fire. They lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. Your species is soft. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced senses. What makes you think you can survive?" Ben cleared his throat. "Because we come from a Class 15 world ourselves." The chamber fell silent. The alien ambassadors looked at each other, their various forms of communication creating a strange symphony of lights, sounds, and chemical signals. "Explain," Velthas said finally. Ben pulled up his own projection. Earth appeared, spinning slowly in the air. "Our homeworld has predators that can run at speeds that would tear most species apart. We have geological events that destroy entire cities. We have weather systems that generate winds stronger than your atmospheric processors. We have diseases that kill millions. We have temperatures that range from boiling to freezing, and we survived all of it with nothing but our minds and our ability to adapt. Earth is classified as Class 8, Velthas said, challenging but not impossible. Your classification system is flawed, Amy said, her voice steady but firm. You rate worlds based on how dangerous they are to you. But every species evolves to handle their own world. To us, Earth is normal. To you, it would be a nightmare. Jake took over. Kepler 442f has high gravity. Humans have dealt with gravity before. We've trained for it. The atmosphere is corrosive. We have suits that can handle it. The creatures are aggressive. So are Earth's creatures. We learned to deal with them too. And the ruins? Velthas asked. You understand that our interest in this world is purely academic. The ancient structures on Kepler 442f predate all known civilizations. If we could access the data stored there, it would change our understanding of galactic history. That's why we're offering to go, Jake said. You've tried sending your best warriors. They failed. You've tried sending your best scientists. They failed. Maybe it's time to try sending someone who grew up learning to survive on a dangerous world. The ambassadors conferred among themselves. Their conversation lasted several minutes, filled with sounds and signals the humans couldn't fully understand. Finally, Velthas turned back to face them. "We will grant your request," the ambassador said. "But understand this, humans. We do not expect you to succeed. We are allowing this because you are new to the Council, and you have the right to make your own mistakes. We will provide you with the best equipment we have. We will give you all the data from previous expeditions, but we will not send rescue teams. If you go to Kepler 442F, you go knowing that you may not return." "We understand," Jake said, "and we accept." Thaxmon made a sound like grinding boulders. "I give you humans one thing. You have courage, even if it is courage born of ignorance. I will personally ensure you have access to Krell survival gear. It will not save you, but perhaps it will give you a few more minutes of life." The Numian ambassador drifted closer to their projection surface. "I too will assist. Our atmospheric analysis equipment is the finest in the known galaxy. You will at least know what is killing you." Over the next 3 weeks, Jake's team prepared. They trained in high-gravity environments until their muscles screamed. They studied every second of footage from the previous expeditions. They modified their equipment, combining human engineering with alien technology. Ryan Carter, their pilot, spent days learning to fly the dropship they would use. It was a Krell design, built to survive atmospheric entry on hostile worlds. Ryan practiced the approach to Kepler 442F 1,000 times in simulation. He crashed 800 times before he started getting it right. Lieutenant Kyle Barnes worked with the weapons specialists, setting up defensive systems. The previous expeditions had focused on heavy firepower. Kyle took a different approach. "We need to be smart, not just strong," he told his team. "Fast response, adaptable tactics. We treat this like we're entering hostile territory back on Earth." Dr. Lisa Morgan had perhaps the hardest job. As the team's geologist and the only human with empathic sensitivity, she had to try to understand the planet itself. She spent hours in meditation, preparing her mind for whatever she might encounter. The other scientists thought her ability to sense emotional resonance from geological features was pseudoscience, but Jake had seen it work before. If the planet had any kind of consciousness, Lisa would be the one to detect it. Megan Foster, their archaeological specialist, memorized every image of the ancient ruins. The structures were massive, built from materials that didn't match any known element. The architecture seemed wrong somehow, as if it had been designed by minds that thought in different dimensions. Megan dreamed about those ruins, walking through them in her sleep. Dr. Claire Patterson checked and rechecked every seal on their environmental suits. The atmospheric data from Kepler 442F showed that the air would eat through standard materials in hours. Claire had reinforced everything twice, then added a third layer just to be safe. "I'm not losing anyone to a leak," she muttered as she worked. Dr. Alex Graham, their xenopsychologist, had a different concern. "What if the planet isn't just dangerous?" he asked Jake one evening. "What if it's actively hostile? What if it thinks?" "All the data shows patterns in the attacks, almost like the planet is coordinating them." "Then we figure out how to talk to it," Jake said. "Or we get out fast." The day before departure, Jake gathered his team. They sat in a circle, 12 humans about to do something that 17 alien expeditions couldn't. "I want each of you to know," Jake said, "that you can back out. No shame, no judgment. This is probably the most dangerous thing any human has ever attempted." Nobody moved. Amy smiled. "We're going, Jake, all of us." Ben nodded. "I didn't come this far to quit now." Around the circle, each team member confirmed their commitment. They were ready. They were trained. They were probably going to die, but they were going to try anyway. The next morning, they boarded the Perseverance. The dropship was loaded with equipment, supplies for 3 weeks, and enough hope to challenge a galaxy's worth of doubt. As they left the Council station and headed for Kepler 442F, Jake looked at his crew. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes. But they weren't backing down. 4 days to Kepler 442F, Ryan announced from the pilot seat. "Everyone get some rest. Once we hit that atmosphere, things are going to get rough fast." Jake settled into his seat and pulled up the data one more time. Class 15 Deathworld, 17 failed expeditions, 0 survivors. The math was clear. The odds were impossible. But humans had never been good at accepting impossible. He thought about Earth, about the thousands of generations of humans who had looked at impossible odds and tried anyway. They had walked out of Africa into ice ages. They had crossed oceans in wooden boats. The fourth day arrived too quickly. Jake woke to the sound of alarms blaring through the Perseverance. He stumbled to the cockpit where Ryan sat hunched over the controls, sweat already beading on his forehead. "We're approaching the atmosphere," Ryan said without looking up. "Everyone needs to strap in now. This is going to be worse than the simulations." The team scrambled to their seats. Through the front viewport, Kepler 442f filled their vision. The planet was beautiful in a terrifying way. Swirling clouds of purple and green wrapped around it like a living thing. Lightning flashed constantly, creating webs of electricity across the sky. Even from orbit, Jake could see the massive shapes moving in the cloud layer. "Those better not be what I think they are," Amy muttered. Ben was staring at his scanner, his face pale. "Those are living creatures, flying in the upper atmosphere. Each one is about the size of a whale." "Great," Kyle said. "Flying whales? Why not?" The Perseverance hit the atmosphere and the shaking began immediately. The ship rattled so hard that Jake's teeth clicked together. A loud crack echoed through the cabin as one of the storage containers broke free from its mounting. It slammed into the wall, spilling equipment across the floor. "Hold together," Ryan whispered to the ship. "Come on, hold together." The temperature inside the cabin started rising despite the cooling systems running at full power. Outside, the hull glowed red from friction. One of the atmospheric creatures swooped past them, its massive body almost scraping their wing. Ryan yanked the controls hard, dodging to the side. "They're curious," Ben shouted over the noise. "They've never seen anything like us before." "Tell them to be curious from farther away," Ryan shouted back. The ship bucked and twisted as they dropped through the clouds. When they finally broke through into clear air, everyone gasped. The landscape below was unlike anything they had ever seen. Forests stretched to the horizon, but the trees were massive, some reaching hundreds of meters into the sky. Rivers flowed in impossible directions, some of them going uphill. In the distance, mountains glowed with internal light as if they were alive. "Landing zone ahead," Ryan called out. "The valley near the ruins." "Just like we planned, contact," Kyle suddenly shouted. Multiple large signatures converging on our position, fast movers coming from the forest. Jake unbuckled and moved to look at Kyle's screen. Sure enough, dozens of red dots were racing toward the coordinates where they planned to land. "How fast?" "Faster than anything we saw in the data," Kyle said. "They're coordinating. Look at the pattern. They're trying to surround our landing zone." "Can we land somewhere else?" Amy asked. Ryan shook his head. "We need stable ground and we need to be close to the ruins. Everywhere else is either too soft, too steep, or too far away. We land there or we don't land at all." "Then we land," Jake decided. "Kyle, get the defense turrets ready. The moment we touch down, I want a perimeter." The Perseverance descended toward the valley. As they got closer, Jake could see the creatures racing toward them. They looked like a nightmare combination of wolf and lizard, each one the size of an elephant. They had 6 legs that moved in a blur, and their heads were covered in crystalline growths that caught the light. The ship touched down with a heavy thud. Before the engines even powered down, Kyle activated the automated turrets. The weapons popped up from the ship's hull and immediately began tracking targets. The creatures were close now, less than 100 meters away. "Turrets armed," Kyle reported. "Permission to engage?" Jake hesitated. The previous expeditions had opened fire immediately. It hadn't saved them. "Hold fire. Let's see what they do." The creatures reached the edge of the clearing where the ship sat. Then they stopped, all of them at the exact same moment. They formed a perfect circle around the ship about 50 meters away. Their crystalline heads turned, watching the ship with what looked like intelligence. "They're not attacking," Amy whispered. "Why aren't they attacking?" Ben was frantically checking his scanners. "I'm reading something. Some kind of energy field connecting them. They're linked somehow. Communicating, maybe?" One of the creatures stepped forward. It was larger than the others, with more elaborate crystal growths on its head. It opened its mouth and made a sound that resonated through the ship's hull, a deep thrumming that Jake felt in his bones. "Did that thing just try to talk to us?" Ryan asked. Before anyone could answer, Lisa suddenly gasped and collapsed. Amy caught her before she hit the floor. "Lisa, what's wrong?" Lisa's eyes were wide and unfocused. Her hands clutched at her head. "Too loud," she whispered. "It's too loud." "Make it stop. What's too loud?" Jake knelt beside her. "Lisa, talk to me." "The planet," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "It's screaming. It's been screaming for so long and nobody heard it, and now we're here and it's so loud, Jake, it's so loud. Alex was immediately at her side, checking her vital signs. She's in sensory overload. Her empathic ability is picking up something massive. Lisa, can you hear me? I need you to focus. Build your mental walls like we practiced. Lisa took several shuddering breaths. Slowly, the panic faded from her eyes. I can hear it, she said more calmly. The planet. It's alive. It's conscious. And it's terrified. Planets don't think, Ben said, but he didn't sound convinced. This one does, Lisa insisted. She pushed herself to her feet, swaying slightly. Or something in it does. I can feel it. Every attack, every natural disaster, every hostile creature. They're not random. Their communication. The planet is trying to tell us something. Jake helped steady her. What is it trying to say? Lisa closed her eyes, concentrating. Make them stop. Please make them stop. She opened her eyes and looked at Jake. It's not trying to kill us. It's asking for help. Outside, the creatures were still waiting. The large one made another sound, softer this time. More of the crystalline creatures emerged from the forest. Smaller ones that might have been young. They didn't approach the ship. They just watched. I think we need to go out there, Jake said. That's insane, Kyle protested. The moment we open that door, they'll tear us apart. Look at them, Amy said. Really look. They're not in attack posture. They're waiting. Jake made his decision. Ben, Lisa, Amy, you're with me. Everyone else, stay ready. If this goes wrong, seal the ship and take off. Jake, no, Ryan started. That's an order, Jake said firmly. If we die, someone needs to report what we learned. Planets can think. That's worth knowing. He moved to the airlock and pulled on his helmet. The environmental suit was heavy, reinforced with Krell armor plating. It would protect him from the atmosphere and give him a fighting chance against the creatures. Through the helmet's display, he could see his team's vital signs. Everyone was scared, but everyone was ready. Jake cycled the airlock. The outer door opened with a hiss and Kepler 442F's atmosphere rushed in. Even through the suit's filters, he could smell it. Something like ozone mixed with growing things and old stone. The gravity hit him immediately. Twice Earth normal. Every movement took more effort. But humans had trained in high gravity before. He could handle it. He stepped down the ramp. Behind him, Amy, Ben, and Lisa followed. The creatures watched them come. The large one took a step forward, then another. Jake held his ground. The creature was massive this close, its crystalline growths refracting the sunlight into rainbow patterns, almost like the Vexari ambassador. The creature lowered its head until its face was level with Jake's. This close, he could see intelligence in its eyes. Real intelligence, not just animal cunning. It made a sound, that same deep thrumming. The sound resonated through Jake's suit, through his bones, into his mind. And suddenly he understood. Not words exactly, but feelings and images. The planet showing him things. Ancient times when the world was different. Then something arriving, something that changed everything. The planet fighting, struggling, trying to protect something. And then the others coming, the alien expeditions, each one making things worse without meaning to. It's showing me, Jake whispered. Lisa, are you getting this? Yes. Lisa's voice came through the helmet comm. It's been alone for so long. Carrying a burden. Trying to keep something contained. The creature pulled back its head and turned. It began walking toward the forest. After a few meters, it stopped and looked back at them. The meaning was clear. Follow. This is either the bravest or stupidest thing we've ever done, Amy said. Probably both, Jake agreed. Let's go. They followed the creature into the forest. The other creatures fell in around them, not threatening but protective. Like an honor guard. The trees towered above them, their bark glowing with bioluminescent patterns. Smaller creatures watched from the branches, but none attacked. The walk took about 20 minutes. Jake's legs ached from the high gravity by the time they reached their destination. The creature had led them to a clearing where ancient ruins rose from the ground. But these weren't the ruins they had come to explore. These were different, older, covered in symbols that seemed to shift when you looked at them directly. In the center of the ruins stood a pillar of smooth black stone. The creature approached it and placed one of its crystalline growths against the surface. The pillar began to glow. Images appeared in the air around them, holographic projections of incredible clarity. It's a recording, Ben breathed. An ancient recording. Jake stood in front of the communication console, waiting for the connection to establish. His hands were shaking slightly. Whether from the high gravity or from what they had discovered, he wasn't sure. Behind him, the rest of the team was organizing, their findings preparing the data they would need to convince the council. The holographic projector flickered to life. Ambassador Velthus appeared, their crystalline form somehow looking irritated even without a traditional face. Commander Morrison, we did not expect to hear from you so soon. Are you requesting extraction already? No, Ambassador, Jake said. We're requesting more time. And we need to talk about what this planet really is. Over the next hour, Jake and his team presented everything they had learned. The images from the ancient hologram, Lisa's empathic readings, the behavior of the creatures, the revelation that Kepler 442f was not a natural world but a constructed prison. The council listened in silence. When Jake finished, that silence stretched for several long moments. Finally, Thaxmon spoke, his rocky voice grinding with disbelief. You are telling us that this entire planet is a containment facility, built by a civilization that predates our oldest records? Yes, Ben confirmed. And the containment is failing. Every expedition that came here damaged it further. The electromagnetic, pulses from the ships, the drilling equipment, the weapons fire, it all weakened the barriers. Impossible, another voice said. This was Ambassador Kix, a Numian who had not spoken during the first meeting. We have scanned this planet extensively. There is nothing beneath the surface but rock and magma, because the containment was designed to be invisible to standard scans, Ben explained. But look at these readings. He transmitted the data. See these anomalies? They're not natural. They're the edges of a massive underground structure. Velthus studied the data for a long moment. Even if what you say is true, what do you propose we do? We cannot leave this seedling trapped here forever. If the containment is failing, then we must destroy it before it escapes. You mean destroy the planet? Amy said flatly. If necessary, yes, orbital bombardment, complete sterilization. It is the only way to ensure the threat is eliminated. Jake felt his anger rising. The planet is alive. It's been conscious for 500,000 years. It's been holding back this threat, protecting the entire galaxy, and you want to kill it? It is not alive in any meaningful sense, Thaxmon said. It is geological processes given false appearance of thought by your psychologist's readings. Humans are known for seeing patterns where none exist. I know what I felt, Lisa said, stepping forward. That planet is as alive and as thinking as any of us. Maybe more so. It's been carrying this burden alone for longer than most of our civilizations have existed. Your feelings are not evidence, Velthus said, but there was uncertainty in their tone now. Commander Morrison, we appreciate your efforts, but the decision is clear. We will deploy the orbital bombardment fleet within 72 hours. You have that time to extract yourselves and any data you can recover. Wait, Claire said suddenly. Before you make that decision, let us examine the containment system. Give us a chance to assess whether it can be repaired. 47 species have studied this planet, Kix said. None found a solution. What makes you think you can succeed where they failed? Claire smiled, though there was no humor in it. Because none of them grew up containing dangerous things. Humans have been managing hazards for our entire history. Nuclear waste that stays deadly for thousands of years. Biological agents that could wipe out cities. Geological faults that could trigger massive earthquakes. We don't just destroy problems, Ambassador. We learn to live with them. The council members conferred among themselves again. Finally, Velthus spoke. You have your 72 hours, Commander. But understand this. If you cannot provide a viable solution in that time, we will proceed with sterilization. Too many lives are at risk to allow sentiment to cloud our judgment. The connection cut off. Jake let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. 72 hours. That's not much time. Then we better get started, Amy said. Jake, we need to split the team. Someone needs to explore the main ruins, the ones we were originally sent to study. If there's information there about the containment system, we need it. Agreed, Jake said. Amy, you take Kyle, Megan, and Alex. Head for the main ruins. Ben, Claire, Lisa, and I will go deeper. The creatures showed us one set of ruins, but according to these scans, there's a much larger structure underground. That's where the real containment system must be. Ryan spoke up from the pilot's seat. What about me? You stay with the ship, Jake said. Keep the communication link open. If anything goes wrong, you get out of here and report what we found. Someone needs to tell the galaxy what happened here. Ryan didn't look happy about it, but he nodded. Understood. The teams prepared quickly. Amy's group loaded up with archaeological equipment and headed toward the main ruins visible on the horizon. Jake's group gathered heavy scanning equipment and began following the signal deeper into the forest. The creatures were waiting for them when they emerged from the ship. The large one from before approached and made a low sound. It turned and began walking, clearly expecting them to follow. I think we have a guide, Ben said. They followed the creature for over an hour. The forest grew denser as they walked, the trees so massive that their roots created valleys and hills in the ground. Strange birds called from the canopy, their voices harmonizing in ways that sounded almost like music. Once they passed a herd of six-legged creatures that looked like a cross between deer and centipedes. The creatures watched them pass without fear or aggression. The whole ecosystem is aware of us, Lisa said. I can feel it. Every animal, every plant. They know we're here, and they're deciding whether to trust us. Let's hope they decide yes, Jake muttered. The creature led them to a cliff face, where a cave entrance yawned like a mouth. The opening was huge, big enough to drive a truck through. Ancient symbols covered the stone around the entrance, the same shifting, uncomfortable symbols they had seen before. This is it, Ben said, checking his scanner. The readings are coming from deep inside. The creature stopped at the entrance. It made a sound that was clearly a warning, then stepped aside. The meaning was clear. This was as far as it could go. What lay ahead, the humans would have to face alone. Jake activated his helmet's light. The beam cut through the darkness of the cave. Stay close. Stay alert. If anything seems wrong, we retreat immediately. They entered the cave. The temperature dropped quickly. Despite the planet's heat, the cave was cold enough that frost formed on their suits. The walls were smooth, too smooth to be natural. This tunnel had been carved, shaped by intelligence and purpose. They walked for what felt like hours, descending deeper and deeper into the planet. Ben kept checking his scanner, following the energy signature that grew stronger with every step. Finally, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Jake's light could barely reach the far walls. The chamber was enormous, carved from solid rock into a perfect sphere. In the center, suspended by nothing visible, floated a structure of light and shadow. It pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm like a heartbeat. That's the containment core, Claire whispered. It's beautiful. It's failing, Ben said, pointing to his scanner. Look at these readings. The energy field is fluctuating. These cracks here and here. The structure's breaking down. Lisa stepped forward closer to the core. I can feel it. The seedling. It's down there below this chamber, trapped in the rock itself. And it's awake. It knows we're here. Can it communicate? Jake asked. I think so. Give me a moment. Lisa closed her eyes and reached out with her empathic sense. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then she gasped and her eyes flew open. It's not evil. The seedling. It's not trying to destroy. It's just trying to exist. But it doesn't understand limits. It wants to grow, to merge, to become one with everything. It doesn't understand that doing so would destroy the individuals it absorbs. So it's like a child, Jake said. A very powerful, very dangerous child. Exactly, Lisa said. The ancient civilization that trapped it here, they understood that. They didn't want to kill it. They just wanted to contain it until they could find a way to teach it, to help it understand. But they never came back, Ben said. No, Lisa agreed. They disappeared. Maybe they died out. Maybe they evolved into something else. The planet doesn't know. It just knows it was left here to guard the seedling forever. And it's so tired, Jake. It's been carrying this weight for so long. Claire was examining the containment structure closely, using her engineering scanner to analyze its composition. This is incredible technology. The way it uses the planet's own magnetic field to create a stable containment zone. The biological components that self-repair. It's genius. But it's breaking, Jake said. Yes, because it was never meant to last this long. The ancient builders probably thought they'd return in a few thousand years, but it's been 500,000. Even the best technology can't last forever. Claire continued her scan, her frown deepening. The worst damage is here on the eastern quadrant. The previous expeditions all landed in that area. Their ship's engines created electromagnetic interference that disrupted the containment field. The emergency council session began exactly 12 hours after Jake's team discovered the ancient plans. This time, every major species in the galaxy was present. The holographic chamber was crowded with aliens of every type, all watching the humans with varying degrees of skepticism. Ambassador Velthas called the session to order. Commander Morrison has requested this meeting to present an alternative to our planned orbital bombardment. Commander, you have 15 minutes to make your case. Jake stood before them, feeling the weight of every alien gaze. Behind him, his team had prepared a presentation that they hoped would change the Council's mind. Thank you, Ambassador. What we're about to propose has never been attempted before, but then nothing about this situation is normal. He activated the holographic display. The ancient plans appeared, rotating slowly in the air. The civilization that built the containment system on Kepler 442f knew it would eventually fail. They left detailed instructions for a backup system, a biological containment that would use the planet's own ecosystem to guard the seedling permanently. Thaxmon leaned forward. We have studied biological containment before. It is unreliable. Living things die, evolve, change. You cannot trust them to maintain a prison for thousands of years. You're right, Claire said, stepping forward. Individual organisms can't be trusted, but ecosystems can. Look at Earth. Our planet has maintained stable cycles for billions of years. Carbon cycles, water cycles, predator-prey relationships. They adapt to change but remain fundamentally stable. That's what we want to create here. In 72 hours? Kix said, their gaseous form rippling with what might have been laughter. You propose to restructure an entire planetary ecosystem in 3 days? No, Ben said. The ecosystem is already there. The planet built it over hundreds of thousands of years. Every creature, every plant, they're all part of the containment already. They just don't know it. What we need to do is make the system conscious. Give the planet the ability to actively manage the containment instead of just reacting to threats. Another ambassador spoke up, a species called the Trill that looked like walking crystals of ice. You speak of making the planet conscious as if it is simple. Consciousness is not something that can be engineered. The planet is already conscious, Lisa said. I've felt it. Spoken with it. The problem is that its consciousness is spread too thin. It can barely communicate. What we're proposing is to give it focus, to connect all the pieces of its awareness into a unified whole. Velthas studied the plans carefully. Even if this were possible, the resources required would be immense. Kepler 442f is remote. We cannot transport heavy equipment there in time, and your ship alone cannot carry what you would need. That's why we're asking the Council for help, Jake said. Not equipment, not materials. We need specialists. Engineers from the Krell who understand structural integrity. Biologists from the Vexari who can analyze the ecosystem connections. Numian atmospheric experts to help stabilize the environment during the transition. We need knowledge, not things. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some ambassadors were intrigued. Others were adamant that the plan was foolish. The argument went on for nearly an hour before Velthas called for silence. There is another concern, the Vexari ambassador said. The seedling itself. You propose to leave it alive, merely contained. What if it escapes? What if your biological prison fails as the technological one did? Jake took a deep breath. This was the part he had been dreading. That's why we need to do more than just contain it. We need to communicate with it. Teach it. The chamber fell silent. Thaxmon's voice was like gravel. Teach it. Teach a cosmic threat that has consumed worlds? It's not a threat, Lisa said passionately. It's a child. A very powerful child that doesn't understand the harm it causes. The ancient civilization understood that. They didn't want to kill it. They wanted to help it mature, but they ran out of time. And you believe you can succeed where they failed? Kix asked. We have something they didn't, Alex said, speaking for the first time. We have perspective. Humans come from a world where we had to learn to coexist with dangerous things. We lived alongside predators, diseases, natural disasters. We learned that sometimes the best way to handle a threat is not to eliminate it, but to understand it and find a way to live with it. This is madness, one of the other ambassadors said. You are asking us to trust the safety of the galaxy to an untested theory, and a species that has been in space for barely a decade. Yes, Jake said simply. That's exactly what we're asking, because the alternative is to commit genocide against a living planet and kill something that might, with help, become a positive force in the galaxy instead of a threat. The debate continued for hours. Jake's team answered questions, addressed concerns, and revised their plans based on council input. Slowly, reluctantly, some of the ambassadors began to see the potential in the human proposal. Finally, Velthus called for a vote. All in favor of allowing the humans to attempt their biological containment solution? The vote was close. Many species voted against it, but enough voted in favor that the motion passed. Velthus turned to Jake. You have your 72 hours, Commander. But understand this. The orbital bombardment fleet is being positioned. If at any point we believe your plan is failing, we will not hesitate to use it. The safety of trillions of lives across the galaxy outweighs any concerns about the life of one planet. Understood, Jake said. We won't fail. The council session ended. Immediately, the real work began. True to their word, the council sent specialists. Within 6 hours, ships from a dozen species were arriving at Kepler 442f. Krell engineers came with their knowledge of planetary-scale construction. Vexari biologists brought their understanding of ecosystem dynamics. Numian atmospheric scientists arrived with equipment to monitor and stabilize the planet's air. During the transition, Jake organized the teams quickly. Amy took charge of the main coordination effort, ensuring that all the different species could work together despite language barriers and different working methods. Kyle set up a command center in the ruins, using equipment from multiple species to create a real-time map of the planet's entire ecosystem. Claire worked with the Krell engineers, explaining the ancient plans and adapting them to use modern understanding. The key is to create nodes, she explained to Thaxmon's chief engineer, a Krell named Vorax. Points where the biological and technological systems can interface. The planet's natural magnetic field will power them, and the organisms will maintain them. How many nodes? Frakes asked. 417, Claire said. Spread across the entire planet. Each one needs to be placed exactly right, in locations where the planet's natural energy flows strongest. Vorax made a sound like rocks grinding together. It took Claire a moment to realize it was laughter. You humans do not think small. 417 nodes, each one requiring precise calibration, all in 66 hours. I like the challenge. Ben was working with the Vexari biologist to map every connection in the planet's ecosystem. See here, he said, pointing to a holographic model that showed the entire food web. This apex predator, the crystalline creatures that first approached us, they're keystone species. Their hunting patterns regulate the entire forest ecosystem. And look at these patterns in the ocean. Massive algae blooms that cycle with the volcanic activity. Everything is connected. The Vexari biologist, whose name was an untranslatable harmonic frequency, pulsed with light. This ecosystem is far more sophisticated than we realized. The previous expeditions only saw the surface. They did not understand the depth of integration. This planet has been engineering itself for 500,000 years. Meanwhile, Lisa was doing the hardest work of all. She was trying to communicate with the seedling itself. Deep in the underground chamber, she sat in meditation, her empathic senses pushed to their absolute limit. Alex stayed with her, monitoring her vital signs and making sure she didn't push too hard. It's hard to explain, Lisa said during one of her breaks. The seedling doesn't think in words or even in images. It thinks in terms of connection and growth. Everything it encounters, it wants to merge with, to become one with, not out of malice, just out of its nature. Can you make it understand that it's hurting things? Alex asked. I'm trying, but it doesn't have a concept of other the way we do. To the seedling, everything is just parts of itself that haven't connected yet. Teaching it that other beings have their own consciousness, their own right to exist separately, It's like trying to explain color to someone who's been blind since birth. Keep trying, Alex encouraged. We don't have much time. On the surface, Megan was leading a team of archaeologists from multiple species through the ancient ruins. They were finding more information about the civilization that had built this place. Pictures carved into stone showed beings of energy and light, creating and building across the stars. And they showed the moment when they discovered the seedling, a new form of consciousness that could merge with worlds themselves. They were excited at first, Megan explained to the team. They thought the seedling could help them terraform uninhabitable planets. And it worked for a while, but the seedling grew too fast. It started merging with... 3 months had passed since the day the biological containment came online. Jake stood on a hill overlooking the valley where they had first landed, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that Earth had never seen. The planet felt different now, peaceful. There was still danger here, still creatures that could kill an unprepared visitor. But it was natural danger, not the desperate aggression of before. Beautiful, isn't it? Amy said, climbing up to join him. She had been down at the research station reviewing the latest data from the monitoring system. Yeah, Jake agreed. Hard to believe this is the same place that killed 17 expeditions. It's not the same place, Amy said. It's better. More complete. Like it finally found peace after 500,000 years of struggle. Below them, one of the crystalline creatures walked through the forest. It paused and looked up at them, its head tilting in what might have been acknowledgement. Then it continued on its way. The creatures still patrolled the area, but now they were guards by choice, not compulsion. They understood their role in protecting the seedling below, and they accepted it willingly. The research station had grown considerably since those first desperate days. What started as a temporary command center was now a permanent facility. Scientists from across the galaxy had come to study what the humans had accomplished. The biological containment system was being analyzed from every angle. Several species were already discussing how to apply similar techniques to other dangerous situations. Inside the main laboratory, Ben was giving a tour to a group of visiting Vexaria scientists. The key to the system is redundancy, he explained, pointing to a holographic model of the planetary network. Every node is connected to multiple others. If one fails, the others compensate. And because the nodes are biological, they can repair themselves and even reproduce when needed. One of the Vexari scientists pulsed with light, their form of asking a question. Ben's translator interpreted.
How do you ensure the biological components don't evolve beyond their intended function?
We don't, Ben said with a smile. That's the beauty of it. The system is designed to evolve. As the planet changes over time, the containment adapts with it. It gets stronger, not weaker. In 1,000 years, it will be even more effective than it is now. In another part of the station, Claire was working with Vorax and his team of Krell engineers. They were developing a standardized design for the biological nodes that could be adapted to other situations. The Council has asked us to assess 6 other ancient containment sites, Vorax said. All of them are failing. All of them guard similar threats. Your species has created something that could save countless lives, Engineer Patterson. Claire felt a surge of pride. We couldn't have done it without your help. Humans provided the idea, but it took the knowledge of the entire galaxy to make it real. That is how the Council is meant to work, Vorax said, each species contributing what it does best. I admit, when humans first joined, I did not see what you would bring to us. You were weak, technologically primitive, but you brought something we had lost. Hope. The belief that impossible problems have solutions if we look at them the right way. Deep in the underground chamber, Lisa sat in her usual meditation spot. She no longer needed to push her empathic abilities to the limit to communicate with the planet. The connection was natural now, easy. The planet spoke to her in feelings and impressions, and she responded in kind. "How are you feeling today?" she asked silently. The response came immediately. Contentment, purpose. The planet no longer felt alone. It had the seedling below, no longer a prisoner but a partner. It had the creatures and plants of its ecosystem, each one playing a vital role. And it had the visitors, the strange, soft beings who had given it the tools to finally fulfill its purpose properly. "I'm glad," Lisa said. "You deserve peace. You fought so hard for so long." The planet sent her an image, the future perhaps, or a hope. It showed other worlds, other planets crying out for help just as Kepler 442f had done. It showed humans coming to those worlds, listening where others had not. "We'll try," Lisa promised. "We'll do our best to help." Alex found her there an hour later. "The council meeting is about to start. Jake wants you there." Lisa opened her eyes and smiled. "The big announcement?" "The big announcement," Alex confirmed. They made their way to the communication center where the rest of the team had gathered. The council had called a formal session and the humans had been asked to attend. Jake stood at the front looking nervous. He had faced down deadly creatures and cosmic threats, but formal council meetings still made him uncomfortable. The holographic projectors activated, and the council chamber appeared around them. All the major ambassadors were present, along with representatives from dozens of minor species. Velthus called the session to order. "Commander Morrison, the Vexari ambassador, said, 'We have called this session to formally recognize the achievement of your team on Kepler 442F. What you accomplished in 72 hours has changed the Council's approach to ancient threats and dangerous worlds. We have studied your methods, and we believe they can be applied to many other situations.'" "Thank you, Ambassador," Jake said. "But we couldn't have done it without the help of the entire Council. This was a truly collaborative effort." "Indeed," Velthus agreed. "Which brings us to our proposal. The Council has identified 47 worlds that require attention, similar to what was provided to Kepler 442F. Some are ancient containment sites. Others are simply worlds that we have deemed too dangerous to approach. We would like humanity to take the lead in assessing and addressing these situations." Jake felt his breath catch. 47 worlds. That was a massive responsibility. "Ambassador, humanity is grateful for your trust. But we're a small species. We don't have the resources for projects on that scale. Which is why this would not be a human project alone," Thaxmon said. "It would be a council project with humanity providing leadership and perspective. Other species would contribute resources, technology, and expertise. You would be the coordinators, the bridge between species, the ones who can see solutions where others see only problems." Kix's gaseous form rippled. "In essence, Commander, we are offering humanity a seat at the table. A real seat with real authority and responsibility. Your species would become the Council's specialists in managing dangerous worlds and ancient threats. It is a role that we believe you are uniquely qualified for." Jake looked at his team. Amy was trying not to smile. Ben was nodding enthusiastically. Claire looked excited by the technical challenges. Lisa's expression was serene, as if she had known this was coming. They were all tired from the past 3 months of constant work, but they were ready for more. "We accept," Jake said. "Humanity accepts. We'll need time to organize, to recruit more teams, to develop proper protocols, but we'll do it." "We expected nothing less," Velthus said. "We will provide funding, training facilities, and access to council resources. In return, we ask only that you continue to approach these problems with the same creativity and determination you showed here." The meeting continued for another hour, working out the details of the new arrangement. By the end, humanity had essentially been given a new purpose in the galaxy. They would be the caretakers, the wardens, the ones who looked at impossible situations and found ways to make them work. After the meeting ended, the team gathered outside the station. The sky was dark now, filled with stars. Somewhere up there were 47 worlds waiting for help, worlds that the galaxy had written off as too dangerous, too difficult, too impossible. "This is going to be our life now," Amy said. "Going to the worst places in the galaxy and trying to fix them." "Sounds about right for humans," Kyle said with a grin. "We never could resist a challenge." Ryan was looking at the stars with a thoughtful expression. "My dad used to tell me that humans were meant for more than just one world. That we were explorers by nature. I always thought he meant we'd colonize new planets, build cities on alien worlds. I never imagined we'd become the galaxy's rescue service for impossible situations." "It's better," Megan said. "Anyone can colonize an empty planet. It takes something special to heal a broken one." Ben pulled up a holographic display showing the list of 47 worlds. "Look at some of these. Class 18 worlds where the gravity is so strong it warps light. Planets with sentient weather systems that attack any technology. Worlds where the oceans are alive and hostile. We're going to have our work cut out for us." "Good," Claire said. "I was getting bored anyway," Lisa laughed. "Only you would find saving an entire planet boring." They stood together under the alien sky, a team that had achieved the impossible and been rewarded with 47 more impossibilities. But they weren't afraid. They were excited. This was what humans did best. They looked at problems that made others give up and said, "Let's try anyway." Over the next few weeks, the news spread through human space. Earth and the few colony worlds humanity had established were buzzing with excitement. Young people started training for the new programs. Scientists from every field volunteered. Engineers redesigned their education to focus on adaptive systems. Psychologists studied empathy and cross-species communication. Humanity was finding its niche in the galaxy.